Hey, this is Victor Antonio with another Sales Influence Moment. So I get this question a lot. Victor, there's a lot of sales training programs out there, and every program has their own process. So which one's the best process? And it's hard for me to tell them which one's the best because it really depends on what you're selling and who you're selling to. And then the second follow-up question is, well, can you give me a simple model so I don't get lost when I'm selling? A process that I can go through and that I don't get lost and I can just kind of keep on track on what I need to do. And I thought about that and I came up with a very, very simple conceptual model that anybody can understand and anybody can use. And it all comes down to our brain and the way our brain thinks. See, our brain is programmed to look for differences, for contrasts in our environment. It's always aware of what's going on. There's a part of the brain called the amygdala. That's basically our early detection system. It's always looking for differences, a change in our environment. In other words, it's looking for one simple word, contrast. Listen to what I just said. It's looking for what? Contrast. So what is the buyer looking for? The buyer is looking for contrast. But in what sense, you might ask? In this very simple sense. Here's the most simplest sales model you're ever going to see right here. Here it is. All the customer wants to know is before, and they also want to know after. In other words, here's the customer today. That's the customer today. And you're trying to sell that customer a product or a service. And all the customer wants to know is that if I buy from you, what am I going to look like after the fact? In other words, here's where I am today. And if I buy from you, how am I going to look after the fact? Now, here's where you as a salesperson come in. Your job is to draw that picture. What is the customer going to look like after the fact? In other words, how are you going to help them increase their revenue? How is your product or service going to do that? How is your product or service going to help them reduce their cost? Maybe how is your product going to help them gain more market share? In other words, how is your product or service going to help them if they buy? Here's where they're at now, and they're looking at what you're painting over here in terms of a picture, a story. Now, if this story is compelling enough, then guess what? The customer will want to go from before to after. We've all seen those pictures, before and after, right? And we're always impacted by the difference. It is your job as a salesperson to highlight and demonstrate that difference to your customer. Keep this in mind when you're going through your sales process. What am I showing them that's going to say, hey, here's what it's going to look like after you buy my product or service? And if you can build enough contrast, enough difference between before and after, you're going to get a sale. This is Victor Antonio with another Sales Influence Moment reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care.